So, Asmongold has been banned from Twitch. As for why that has happened, well, you don't accidentally advocate for what effectively amounts to a very pro-genocide position. You don't do that just kind of overnight. That's like a big mess up that you end up doing. And that's, well, I don't want to say that's exactly what he did, but we're going to go into exactly what he did and some of the follow-up from that, so we can talk about that. I don't like talking about stuff like this usually because this is very, it feels very drama posty, but at the same time, when you get into the specifics of the statements that he made, this is not drama posting so much as it is entirely in the wheelhouse of geopolitics and politics in general. So let's go ahead and take a look at fan art, and then we'll move into the Asmongold stuff. This is from Axo. Said, Suris said you could wave a stick and make new laws, and behold, the law stick. I use this as an excuse to mess around and be silly. Well, you know what? I'm okay with you being silly. We have the law stick. It's here. It's here. As always, thank you for your fan art submissions. If you want your fan art to be shown in a future video, the best way to do so is to drop it in the fan art section of the Discord. That said, let's go ahead and take a look at the clip that actually caused all this, and then let's look at all of the extracurricular stuff that has happened around there. B. Josher says, what does the 50k redeem do? Nothing. Nothing at all. It doesn't do anything. Not really. Nothing. Nothing. It doesn't do anything. Doesn't do anything. Anyway, here is the clip that people have been spreading around the internet.
If you want to consider a genocide as a
let's see.
Systematic killing of a group of people, they have genocide built into Sharia law right now. So no, I'm not going to cry a fucking river when people who have genocide that's baked into their laws are getting genocided. I don't give a fuck. They're terrible people. It's not even a question.
Turns out, genocide's bad no matter what side the genocide's on. Turns out, genociding people is kind of an awful thing to do. Asina Salon, thank you for... We're talking about genocide and you come in with a ooh-woo. I feel like I should be more ashamed, but this is the audience I created. I can't do anything about that, I guess. But, yeah, no. So, here's the thing. If you are a Palestinian who just was born and raised in Gaza, whether or not you agree with Sharia law, whether or not you agree with everything that Hamas is doing, you still end up being a victim of genocide. You don't get a choice in the matter. You had the misfortune of being born geographically into a position that will lead to you being harmed. Why is it okay for children who didn't agree to any of these laws? Why is it okay for them to be slaughtered, Asmon? Why is that an okay thing? That's not an okay thing, and you're an idiot for thinking that's an okay thing. I don't know, maybe clean your room a bit.
It's crazy that people don't see it that way. They'd be doing the same thing.
So, again, here's the thing. When you say they, this large they, this is assuming that everybody involved in the Israeli-Palestine conflict is a military combatant, a religious fanatic, and willing to go forward with the directives that both of those two things would entail. Unfortunately, for how genocide works, that's not how that operates. At all, Asmon. It doesn't matter if you are a religious fanatic or part of the military or any type of person that would be precluded to try to annihilate the other person from being alive. If you just happen to have the misfortune of being born in that area, you are also going to be a victim of genocide. you are also going to be a victim. If you have the misfortune of being born in Israel, you are going to be a victim of attacks on Israel. If you have the misfortune of being born in the Gaza Strip, you are now going to be attacked by the IDF, and that is somehow an okay thing. Being born in Palestine is somehow it's okay for a kid to get killed, I guess, according to Asmongold.
And how much did they kill? As many as they can. They're not able to kill as many people as Israel because they don't have as many bombs and as many weapons. But if they did, they'd be doing the same thing.
All right, and if they did, and they were, then we would be having the exact same problem with them. In fact, actually, we have had that problem with them multiple times in the past. Turns out, killing other people is a bad thing to do. But no, Asmon, you're forgetting people who didn't consent to be part of this fucking conflict.
That's it. Just takes enough. That's right. These people are not your allies. They are not the same as us. They come from an inferior culture that is horrible. It kills people for their identity, and it is directly antithetical to everything Western values stand for.
Okay, so, inferior culture, Western values. Can we talk about, just real quick, can we talk about how both of those are spooks and don't fucking mean anything? Western values means whatever you want it to mean. If I say Western values, there are 15 different people who have different ideas of what Western values are, and they are going to just suckle on those ideas and not press me on what I mean by Western values. There are some people who think Western values means freedom of religion, and freedom for women, and freedom for all. And there are other people that think Western values means white supremacy. But if I just say Western values, it can mean whatever the fuck I need it to mean for anybody who happens to be listening, because it's vague as fuck. Also, as far as inferior culture, gee, I don't know, Asmon. What about their culture do you actually understand? For you to call their culture inferior, maybe it would be a good idea for you to understand a little bit about the culture of the people who grew up and live in Palestine. Maybe if you wanted to know a little bit about their culture, you could have asked somebody from that region what their culture is like. Oh, wait. They're being genocided. It's a bit hard to do that. Gee, I wonder if that's an okay thing, that it's hard to get a good bead on what Palestinian culture is because they are all getting killed. Asmon? Oh, wait, you can get a bead on that because we live in the information age, and people are able to post onto YouTube and TikTok and everything about what their day-to-day lives are like in the Gaza Strip. And gee, I wonder, would we consider it inferior just because many of them are not able to live full and happy lives right now? Because they're being bombed? I don't know if I'd consider that inferior or just circumstantially not acceptable. Cygander says, I don't see any culture as inferior. That's the weird thing about saying a culture is inferior. I can say there are aspects of a culture that I like more than others, but to say that a culture is inferior means that you have a perfect value judgment on either of them, which is kind of silly. I am willing to say that bigotry is bad, and having bigotry baked into a culture is bad, but to say that Western culture is somehow better than other cultures is weird to me when it's just that we have different bigotries and we've normalized them. A lot of people consider Western culture to be very anti-gay, or very anti-trans, or, depending on your point in history, very anti-black people, or very anti-Japanese people. All of those things at one point were Western culture, and they were all bigotries. They were just bigotries that were normalized here geographically. That's how all cultures are. They have these things. You know what the correct thing to do with those cultures are? Allow them to grow. Allow them to mature. Allow them to become something better than what they are right now. Not bomb them into fucking oblivion, Asmon.
And it is an inferior culture in all ways. It is that simple. No, I don't feel bad for them. I don't feel sorry for them. I don't care. I don't support them.
All right. So, needless to say, that didn't end well for him. he got banned off of Twitch after those statements. And in fact, he got taken out of multiple programs that he was a part of. Here's Starforge Systems saying that we have spoken to Asmongold and have mutually agreed to part ways. Starforge unequivocally rejects all forms of discrimination, hatred, and violence. We stand by and align ourselves with those around the world seeking to foster acceptance, unity, and dignity. Okay, so what in the world is going on here? We have a video game streamer who is mostly been made famous by people handing him random shit in Classic WoW and him not having to work to level up a warrior, having a very nuanced take on geopolitics. It's no nuance there at all. I don't even know what I'm talking about. So Kotaku decided to write about this. And, you know, Kotaku's definitely not biased. They're very biased. But let's take a look here. Twitch streamer and famous YouTuber Zach Asmongold Hoyt has had his account banned after a racist rant about Muslims and Palestinians killed in Gaza went viral on social media. My bad, he shared on Twitter following the online backlash. Looking back on it, I was way too much of an asshole about the Palestine thing. His other Twitch channel, Asmongold itself, remains up. Okay, so it's his Zach Rar account that is banned, but he still has Asmongold? That's kind of weird. You'd expect that the channels would be both gone? Hold on. Is that true that one channel is up still and the other's not up? Because that'd be weird, because they banned Vosh for having similar statements about Israel years ago. But then we're not doing the other way around? Let's take a look. Let's take a look here. Asmongold, yep, Asmongold is still up and kicking. It is just the secondary account that has been banned, I guess. Said he hasn't used Asmongold in years. Yeah, but he still has it. Like, whether or not he's actually used it, I guess he's going to have to try to use it now. I guess. So that's the account that makes the Twitch money. In addition to playing games, Asmongold frequently live streams extended chat sessions where he comments on other people's YouTube videos or whatever topics are gaining traction on his dedicated subreddit. In the midst of a recent live stream, he began talking about Israel's war on Gaza, which the Gaza Health Ministry says has killed over 40,000 Palestinians since it began just over a year ago, following the October 7th attacks by Hamas. It said, if you want to consider a genocide, okay, this is the quote that we just watched, saying, I don't give a fuck, they're terrible people, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we already have all of that here. We've already looked at all of that. Continue reading. Oh, I love when I'm not able to continue reading a thing because the website is stupid. Wait, what? Must have gift guides. All right, yeah, fuck Kotaku. We're not going to be reading any more on that. I wanted to read more on that, but then your website was broken. It was just broken. Beacher says, similar, he made an offhand dumb nuke joke. Yeah, that's still similar. Like, saying that we should just carpet bomb Israel is still bad. Beachers, like, I'm sorry, but that was a stupid thing for him to say back then. And this is a stupid thing for Asmongold to say now. And I'm perfectly willing to say that. I'm friends with Vosh. I can tell him that was stupid for him to say to his face if you want me to. Like, I don't think anybody has any questions about that. Right? B. Joshua says, does anybody think the Gaza Health Ministry still has the ability to count? That number hasn't gone up in a few months, even though Israel hasn't stopped and they've banned food from coming in. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. How much more do you need that? How much bigger do we need that number to be? 40,000 is already an astronomical amount and an unacceptable amount of deaths. But also, remember that if you are talking about numbers of people who die, right? Every single digit you add onto a number starts to increase the time it takes for that number to get higher. So if I say there are less than 10 people dead, all it takes is 11 people to die for that statement to be wrong. Once I say there's about 100 people dead, it only takes another 100 people for that to be wrong. Then I say there's a few hundred people. Well, all it takes is a few hundred more, and that is now an incorrect statement. Once I say there's 1,000 people who are dead, 2,000 people is what it takes for that statement to no longer be applicable. And the number keeps getting higher. Once I say there's 40,000 people dead, all it takes is anywhere between 1 and 10,000, depending on how I'm rounding, for that number to no longer be accurate. And if I were to hit 1 million, it would now take somewhere in that area for me to say that as well. If we are just rounding numbers, then it takes longer and longer to get those numbers to be bigger. B. Josher says, I just don't think an admittedly dumb, very TOS joke is the same as espousing a genuine belief. That's all I meant. I mean, jokes also stem from genuine beliefs oftentimes. Like, I don't know. That's not me trying to accuse Vosh of anything. That's just me pointing out that if I were a person working at Twitch, I would have to view the two as the same, because it's impossible for me to tell what's in somebody's heart of hearts. It's impossible for me to tell that, so I have to operate as if jokes lead to one thing. Like, if somebody made a joke about trans suicides, I have to assume that that's coming from somewhere other than just that, right? Also, let's see here. Asmongold then made a post onto his Reddit, and this is the entirety of the post. He says, it was Arsler to use Palestinians interchangeably with religious fanatics and terrorists. Obviously, not all people in Palestine are trash. It's really not that complicated. Also, it wasn't just that issue. Don't let yourself become ideologically captured by a worldview to the point where it makes you so unreasonable that you've turned into what you're fighting against. No one wins when I stand behind a statement that's false or a mischaracterization. My dad told me over a year ago that I was getting too harsh on my stream, and I ignored him. Same with a lot of real-life friends. I think I've just been increasingly more hostile and negative, and that brings a bad vibe to the stream. A good comparison, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero's playthrough versus Wulong's playthrough. Basically what I'm trying to say is I want more Sparking Zero playthroughs, and I never want to play Wulong again. The vibes of the stream recently have been a lot more tense, and a lot of that is my fault. If you think that means my first stream back is going to be playing Dustborn and promoting Sweet Baby, I think you'll be very disappointed. I'm not changing anything other than trying to be more positive and less mean-spirited. Okay, so I don't really like that statement there, because that's just a fucking signal to the DEI crowd that they're gonna have their white savior still. See ya, Ravi. I will see you tomorrow for that thing that I talked to you about when I am on stream, which chat does not know about, but I am ashamed of. Also, sponsors had nothing to do with it. This wasn't even the top 5 worst things I've said. I've wanted to step away from leadership and take a break from all that for a while now because of the amount of commitments compounded on top of maintaining my streaming schedule was unironically ruining my life. Also, if I'm not involved in them, why would it matter what if I'm not involved with them, why would it matter what I say? That feels like a way to dodge responsibility. Like, I'm not involved with Israel or Palestine, but I think what I say still probably matters to a degree, right? B. Joshers says he's implying that the problem was just he was being too rude and harsh, not the belief itself. Yeah, that does seem like a way to say that what I believed was right, but the way I portrayed it was wrong. Like, no, you basically justified the genocide of a bunch of people by saying that their culture was inferior, and, you know, the implication afterwards is that it deserves to be extinguished. He says, hopefully y'all can see how this is really a macro issue, not just this situation. My life has actually been fucked for a while now, and I need to fix it. I'm a 34-year-old single male living in his mother's house with dead animals and garbage. Although I don't hate it, I don't want to die this way. Have any feedback or questions? Ask. I want to know how you get to his level of popularity and still live like that. Also, I thought he lived in a streamer house, like, with other streamers. Does he actually live with his parents? Because I keep hearing that he lived in a freaking house with, like, 3 or 4 other streamers. Sylvie Snow says streamer house? Yes, so A streamer house is a home where you put 4 or 5 content creators together and they all live together and sometimes do content together. It's a thing that was popularized by the Paul brothers years ago and has been done by a lot of different groups since in order for making content. It makes doing collaborations way easier for a lot of people, and it makes functioning as a content creator easier for people in general because they're in a house with their peers. And also, when you split a house's cost between 8 or 10 people, you end up making it far more easy for those people to afford living. When streaming is not the most lucrative job in the world, all of us have to pay a fuck ton in tax. I haven't received a tax return in years. I just pay my taxes and just suck it up when I have to do that. Like, it's expensive to be a content creator. Jet says he lives in his parents' house. The parents are no longer there. Gotcha. Gotcha. Hitchmeister says he never cleans and leaves uneaten food around. The house is overrun with pests. Yeah, that's gross as hell. I don't understand why you would be okay living in that kind of filth. And also, okay, at his channel size, at 2.5 million subscribers, when every video that he makes earns thousands of dollars, just hire a maid service at that point. Like, I'm sorry, but no, at a certain point, I am perfectly willing to judge you and how you comport yourself, how you operate in the realm of cleanliness. My house is not the cleanest because there are animals running around it all the time, and so half of our cleaning is sweeping up animal fur that's gotten caught under a rug or caught on the corner of something, and if you have cats, you know what that's like. B. Josher says he had a maid at one point, if I remember correctly, but he felt too embarrassed. Why would you be more embarrassed about having a maid and not about being fucking gross? Why is the grossness not the embarrassing thing, but the maid is the embarrassing thing? Sylvie says, I would absolutely love to live in a house that didn't have kitty litter all over the place. So you won't have kitty litter all over the place if you do the kitty litter every day and sweep it up. The litter doesn't tend to scatter everywhere. Not really. Bragwin says, he used a dead bird as an alarm clock. The sun warming the corpse made it stink enough to wake him up. His words. What the fuck? Sylvie says, I have 20 plus cats. Why do you have 20 cats? How is that a healthy environment for the cats? What? The fuck? Anyway, that's a side thing. No, that's a side thing. Kazumi says, isn't Asmon the guy who smears blood on the wall? Sylvie says, my cats keep getting pregnant. Sylvie Snow, that's a problem that's going to keep persisting forever if the cats don't get fixed. That's a genuine problem. That's a health hazard for them and you. No, you've got to get that shit under control. You can't afford it. No, there are places that do free spay and neuters in most areas. All you have to do is go online and look for the places that do free and discounted spay and neuters. There's local pet charities. There's all kinds of places, depending on where you're at. Like, no, that is what we call a forever problem. That is a problem. Like, the kittens are costing you more than the spay and neuter. The spay and neuter can be a couple $100 once. Each of those kittens is going to cost you a couple $100 every few months. Every few months. That is a problem you've got to solve. And I am saying that because I care. I'm not saying that to shame you. I'm not saying that to belittle you. I'm not saying that for any of those reasons. I'm saying that because I'm a humane person and I care. And that is a problem that is already out of control. And if it continues to get out of control, if it continues to be out of control, your health is at risk, your mentality is at risk, the health of the cats is at risk. Every ounce of that is bad and needs to be handled. You owe it to yourself. You are worth living in a healthy environment. You should do that. Holy fuck. Yeah, all the litter is not good for anything. Anything at all. Anyway, that said, let's watch the Asmongold apology video. With that aside, done.
Hey guys, I wanted to talk to you all about what my reason was for getting suspended on Twitch, and also what my plans are.
Okay, real quick, I do not mean to be that guy, but is that a takeout container? Is that just a takeout container there? And those are just rags? Is that... So that's old laundry that hasn't been done. That's just a takeout container. That's just a soda thing. Dark Excalibur says, are you not familiar with his work? No, I'm not familiar with horse shit.
Going forward, I'm going to try and structure this video into two parts, where the first part is going to be me talking about the Twitch suspension, second part is going to be talking about myself. And the first thing I want to start off with is something that I know it might sound a little bit insincere because of how ridiculous this is, but I really mean it, and if you listen to the whole video, I hope you can see why. Everybody who's come and spoken out and talked to me and said stuff about me, you know, aside from the, oh, you should kill yourself or something like that, I want to say that I really appreciate you, and I think this has been something that's a long time coming, and I actually think that this is something that not only I deserved, but it's also something that I needed. And I want to talk about what the reason for that is, but I want to start off and just make sure that that's actually very clear. So a couple of days ago, I made some comments about Palestine and also about Hamas and, you know, some just general, you know, basically opinions that were trivializing the genocide that's happening there. And I don't really want to, like, mince words or, like, try to, like, oh, I wasn't justifying or, you know, promoting it. I said something about it that was disgusting. I said that I didn't care about innocent people getting killed by another force, by anything. And I think that that's a horrible, disgusting, mean-spirited thing to say. And I don't necessarily think that it was really racist, really, but when I'm using language like...
You don't think it's racist? I mean, I feel like when you start talking about inferior cultures, I feel like there's the only thing that underpins that is racism, but that's just me.
Palestinians or like the people there, rather than what my real language was, I've always been very outspoken and very against religious extremism, and I still am. I think that any religion and any way of thinking that's going to cause you to put other people in like kind of positions below you as like, you know, like gay people, women, people with disabilities, anything like that, I think that that's a really bad position to have, and I really don't like that. And I think that my problem and my fault here was that I was making a criticism of religious extremism, and I made no effort. And I feel like almost I've rewatched the clip, right? Or a number of the clips. And
there was nothing about that clip that implied religious extremism. The clip that I saw implied Palestine and the fact that they follow Sharia law. But that would be like saying that all Americans deserve to be exterminated because we follow the Bible, quote, quote.
And it's like I've almost made an effort not to draw a distinction between the two things. I think that a lot of us here can easily say that we're against religious extremism, and I am. But whenever I categorize everybody in the area as this, like, group, then I'm the asshole. And I was the asshole. I had a lot of you guys tell me that. And it's taken me... This is what's so crazy about it, is that I think this has been going on now for like 2 years. I think that I've been slowly devolving into the most mean-spirited, I don't really even know what the word is for it. Just like the most mean-spirited, rude, like nasty, like just callous, psychopathic version of myself. I think that I've been devolving into this. And a lot of my friends have told me this. My dad has told me this. He said, you've got to chill out. You've got to calm down. I've been like, oh, that old man doesn't know what he's talking about. And I've finally had some level of accountability for that. And thank God. I look back at some of the things that I've said and done over the past 2 years, and I don't think that I've been wrong about everything, obviously, right? But there have been ways that I've communicated and ways that I've acted that are indefensible. And
Bijo Share says, part of the problem is that his fandom has become increasingly far-right as he has. There's a reason that Pippa likes him. So, Bijo, just a real quick thing in defense of Pippa. Pippa considers herself very apolitical, and I'm not gonna lie, you know that Pippa subscribed to me too, right? Like, just to show you a thing, just as evidence of a thing, so that you know what I'm talking about. If I pull up Twitter, Pippa does follow me on Twitter. And I can pull up the area on YouTube where Pippa also is subscribed to me on YouTube. I think, and I know this because I have a friend who has actually talked with her specifically, but yeah, the freeze frame is a thing. Pippa's a person who does not consider the gravitas of her words or the actual audience that is there. That's not exactly a good thing, mind you. Obviously, I don't agree with that kind of flippancy when you have a platform. But that is the type of person that Pippa is. She operates to make people angry, period. And Janitor says, Pippa Longsock? No, Pipkin Pippa from Phase Connect. Beatrice says, I don't know, man. The jokes I've seen her make are a bit cocky. Maybe she's just a 4chan. No, she is a Channer. That's the thing. She is a consummate Channer. I don't think that she's evil or malicious. I think that she's a Chan boarder. And when you're a Chan boarder, that's the kind of stupid shit that you say. Asmon's fandom, I'm also not super familiar with. Again, I have never found Asmongold entertaining. I have never found him appealing. I've never sat down and watched his content and thought that I enjoyed his insights. It always felt like the most bottom-of-the-barrel React Andy content, but people seem to love it. So he's got a fandom. He has a group of people who like his stuff. Bragwin says, thinking that nothing you say ever affects the real world is what a child thinks. Yes, and that certainly speaks to a level of immaturity that needs to be addressed, both from Asmongold and, for this conversation, Pippa. But there's a difference between believing that what you say has weight and that you can carry people and then using that with malicious intent like a Nick Fuentes does, and believing that you're just saying jokes on the internet like a Chan boarder does. Bijo Share says both of their fandoms are just edgy humor, React Andes, and partially a very vocal far-right element. Yeah, and I sometimes wonder if I pivoted my content to be more of that React Andy content, maybe my content would grow, but I don't know if I would be able to be particularly proud of that content. I don't know if I'd be able to particularly enjoy the production of a lot of that content. I've tried. I have that secondary channel, the Suris Bits channel, which is just me doing the basic reaction thing to content, and I don't find myself enjoying it. I don't.
I think looking back on it, it's just disgusting. And it's something that when you get lost in the sauce and you get fixated around like listening and reading feedback and, you know, just getting hyper fixated, this is like your entire life, you lose a perspective on reality and you lose a perspective on the world. And I think that perspective was brought into perspective yesterday and the day before when I was making comments like this. And I feel so stupid. It's crazy. So I'm getting all these people making negative comments toward me. Everybody is telling me like, oh, go kill yourself. I hate you. Everything like this. Do you know who reached out to me? And they wanted to talk and have a conversation.
Is it going to be Hassan? Okay.
It's people that were Islamic and people that had fucking family in Palestine. And how humiliating is that? How absolutely humiliating is that? And these were the people I was trying to say were bad. And I feel like...
Yeah, I feel like that would be a slap in fucking reality. If that were to happen to me, that would be a slap to the fucking face.
Such a fucking stupid asshole. I really do. I've always been I guess like I've always been kind of like an atheist. And even as a young kid, I was raised Roman Catholic, and I was always very defiant towards it. And I've always had a negative opinion of religion, and I've also had a negative opinion of religious cultures. This is
effectively an apology video.
I think that opinion is definitely shaped by the media that I've created, and the media I've created for myself, and then also just the media that exists, the media that I've chose to seek out as well. And I think that media has allowed me to have certain predispositions and certain biases that the truth is that don't have any sort of relation to what my own real life has been experienced.
Would you like to explain what some of those biases have been?
What my own real life experience has been, excuse me. And so I've been spending a lot of time talking to those people, and I've seen people like fans of mine, like I had viewers messaging me on Discord, like, why are you saying this? Like, do you want to talk? Do you want to, I'm willing to talk to you, and let's try to work this out, right? We love you. And I scrolled up on their messages, and these are people that messaged me in like 2016, 2017, 2018, like, I love your content, I love your stream, I love you, right? And now they get to hear this from me, and I just feel like such a stupid, belligerent fucking asshole. I really do, and I'm sorry. I really am. I think that it's extremely fair to criticize religious extremism, and I think that it's extremely unfair to categorize everybody in part of that group as religious extremists. I think it is, and I'm really sorry for that.
Yeah, okay, so I agree with the statement that religious extremism is bad. Obviously, my channel began as an atheist channel before anything. B. Joshers says, part of this is I'm anti-extremism, but extra anti-Islam is absolutely because of the era of atheist YouTube he likely grew up with. I was so lucky that the far-right era of atheist YouTubers, by basically a few months. Yeah, and I watched a little bit of that as well. I watched some Sargon. I watched a decent bit of Thunderfoot. And yeah, I understand there are going to be people who were like, actually, Thunderfoot was never a right-wing YouTuber. No, he definitely fed into that pipeline back then. The Anita Sarkeesian stuff fed into that pipeline quite well during that era. Like, I got to witness a decent bit of that era of YouTube, but it was also not when I was primarily watching YouTube. I wasn't watching a lot of the anti-SJW content. I discovered the anti-SJW content, consumed it for a bit, really, really resonated with it because I was dating a person at the time, or I had just finished dating a person who was very much what I would have considered a Tumblrina, and I was very much seeking that kind of content out to reinforce my own biases. And then over time, I discovered other content creators, Godless Cranium, Viced Rhino, Apologia, people who were not espousing right-wing propagandist political beliefs while also espousing atheism. And I think that helped a lot in shaping me into who I was and shaping the kind of content that I would end up making. Clever Chimera says the alt-right pipeline is overhyped. Once upon a time, it was not, though. Once upon a time, it was not, though. And to be fair, it may still be, but there was a time where the algorithm did feed you into those areas very, very quickly, because those were some of the most popular areas of YouTube. This is before ContraPoints got super big. This is before PhilosophyTube got super big. This is when H-Bomber Guy wasn't one of the biggest YouTubers on the platform. He was just a YouTuber on the platform that people knew about to a degree. Like, that pipeline, I'm not gonna lie, that pipeline is a thing, and it may not be as bad now, but it certainly has been. Sylvie says, I'm so glad my content exposure with content was Telltale and Suris. Stop says, it's still easy to get into that pipeline. Turned out a lot of people a few years younger than me into Trumpers. Right, like, it's just how algorithms work. It's how algorithms work. The problem with a lot of those algorithms functioning for leftist pipelines are going to end up putting you watching people who are at odds with each other. You're going to end up watching a video from, say, Peter Coffin, and that's going to end up putting you into videos from Non-Compete, and that's going to end up putting you in videos from, say, Lily Simpson, and that may end up putting you with videos eventually that are going to be from, say, Vosh or Hassan, and that may end up getting you watching videos from Xander Hall or me. And the problem is, if you look at all of those people, we are all very different breeds of lefty, and some of us have deep-seated personal drama with other people, not just the ones I named, but anyone in those areas. And it's going to cause you to end up getting fractured within that pipeline. But when you're going down the right-wing pipeline, things aren't as fractured. That infighting doesn't happen as much. B. Joshua says that pipeline is big with sports content right now. Right, because sports content leads to fitness content, and fitness content leads to the manosphere, and manosphere content leads directly into that alt-right bullshit. It does. Dragonic says, I remember those days. After I got out of the alt-right pipeline, you and Owen Morgan were my first atheist channels I subbed to after unsubbing from all the channels that led me down the alt-right pipeline. Yeah, it's a thing that's been experienced way more by a lot of other people. Stygander says, I know a lot of right-wing people do buy views. That I was unaware of. Mr. Maclight says, that fracturing tendency in our culture is one of our biggest weaknesses, I think. I think it is, too. I think it would be better if a lot of leftists were willing to be with other leftists that they disagreed with instead of tearing each other down over it, but that's just me.
I've just been a fucking dick. And it's weird because yesterday I woke up and I didn't know if I was going to get suspended or not. And I had planned on streaming and everything. And I actually got a text message from one of my mods. They said, oh, I heard about the suspension. I'm sorry. And I was like, I remember I was like driving and like, you know, you'd think that like your heart rate would go up, but if anything, I felt more relaxed. I felt like finally I have a moment to just take a step back and breathe and think for myself and just stop, just like get out of my own head. And I spent a long time like just writing basically a list of all of these things that like I think that I should be doing with my life. And this is going to be kind of the second part, by the way, of the video. Comments that I made were pretty much about religious extremism. I think it's bad, but I've categorized a lot of people in that way that was unfair. It's wrong for me to have done that. I said something that was bad. I should not have said that. I should have chosen my words more carefully. I didn't do that. I doubled down on it. I shouldn't have. I'm sorry. That's pretty much, I was a fucking asshole. I was a piece of shit. I'm sorry. I don't know what else to say. And so, actually, I do know what else to say. I don't like making apologies because I think words don't matter. But I do think change...
Words do matter a lot, though. Your words as a content creator... Like, I'm glad you're doing the apology. I appreciate that. It makes sense. I'm sure that people who felt depersoned because of you... definitely do appreciate that apology, but the words do matter. You got to remember, as influencers, as content creators, the primary vehicle that we have to influence people is our words. Our words sway people. You may not want to think they do. You may not think they have impact on people, but they definitely do. The things that you and I say on the internet, they make it to a non-zero amount of ears, and then people engage in action based on that. But anyway.
Actions and change behaviors do. And so you can take my apology as hopefully better content. And if you're not seeing that, I want you to hold me accountable. Hopefully this time I won't be stupid enough to ignore it. Mouth is pretty dry. Anyway, so the second part about this is that I want to talk a little bit about like my life, my personal life, etc. And kind of some of the points that I think that I've kind of gone through to get here. So the main thing is that for the past, like, I would say like 10 years or so, if you look at my life like this, I would have said 10 years ago, or maybe 8 years ago, streaming was like this, right? YouTube was like this. And now I would say that my life and streaming are basically the exact same size. And what I mean by that is that streaming is my entire life. Doing this is my entire existence. And I think that the process of that has been extremely unhealthy for me. And I think that what it's done is that it's allowed me to become such a one-dimensional person that I'm not even a person anymore. It's like I'm Dark Souls, I'm going hollow or something. And I think about like all of the, you know, like I made a list of all of the things that I'm not doing in my life that I should be doing, and I was writing it down, and I'm like, you know, fucking like, I'm just going and going and going. I'm like, oh my god, I think it'd be shorter if I transcribed the Bible. Like, this is insane. Like, like, whenever I have everything written down line for line, it's like, oh my god, I'm ruining my life. I've been existing, and I want to, at a certain point, actually try to live my life. And I don't think that I've been doing that. And so what am I going to do? How am I going to do that differently? And what does that mean for my stream, etc.? I think that I'm going to cut down a little bit on streaming quite as much. And I think I'm also going to cut down... This is going to sound like... I hope I can say this in the right way. I feel like the main times that I laugh on my stream nowadays are when I'm laughing at other people. And I look back on videos that I did from 2020, 2016, and 17, and yeah, I've always been an asshole, but holy shit, I've been way more of an asshole. It's insane. And it's a night and day difference. And I've had, again, everybody in the world telling me this, including my own dad, and I've just ignored them. And finally, it's like, you know what? Maybe I'm an asshole. Maybe this is too far. Maybe I need...
It sounds like he's genuinely understanding character growth. He started garnering more success as he was becoming more of a flippant ass. And he's starting to realize that maybe that's not the person he wants to be. Maybe that's not how he wants to operate. That's at least a good thing. Rand the Fool says, hopefully that epiphany sticks. That is what I would hope. That's the issue with YouTube apology videos, right? Is that they can seem like they are themselves the actual change, right? It seems like you did the apology video, therefore that was the change. I feel like there's a lot of content creators that do that, where they make the apology video, they don't do anything about it afterwards, and then we find out, 2 or 3 years later, they're still doing all the dumb shit. I would hope that in Asmon's case, this is a moment where he's actually taking the time to understand what he's done, why it was wrong, and that it is part of a greater series of things that need to be worked on. Because oftentimes when you are being that kind of an asshole, it's not a one-and-done thing. It is a pattern, and he's at least noticed that there is a pattern. As a follow-up, I would hope that he would engage in therapy. Right? It is up to him to follow through, but I think therapy can help out a lot here. Going to a therapist and talking about these things, that's how I figured out I was overworked. That's how I figured out I was overworking myself years ago. My therapist told me. When I would talk about my day with my therapist, she'd be like, okay, so what time do you have to do things you like? What time do you have to spend with your loved ones? I don't know. I figured I'd figure that out eventually. That's not a good sign. But I think that's all we're going to be watching of the apology video. I don't see there being much more information in there that we desperately need. We've basically gotten what we could get here. Asmongold fucked up a bunch. He basically said that it was okay to genocide a group of people because they had an inferior culture. And then he got hit in the feelings really hard when he realized that turns out other people are people too. I really kind of hope that this sticks. I don't have any major love towards Asmongold, but he is a large content creator and his opinions do sway audiences. So I would hope that this will continue. I do think, though, that personal cleanliness will help a lot here too. And hell, even looking at his comments, people are pointing out that a cleaning the room stream would be the most viewed stream of all time. We got Asmon planning to clean his room before GTA 6. 2 steps ahead, Asmon appears in the shadows of his immaculately clean room, weighing 300 pounds. We do the Nikocado avocado stuff, I guess. But anyway, that's the Asmongold situation in a nutshell. That's all of it that I could see. He did go and talk to Hassan Piker. I have not watched this video because watching more than 20 minutes of Hassan just does not seem like what I want to do to spend my life doing. And watching 20 minutes of Asmongold is also not something I want to spend my life doing, so I feel like putting them in the same stream means I want to watch doubly less of it. But you can if you want. You can if you want. We'll see if this continues. I wouldn't have too much reason to talk about Asmongold if it weren't for the Palestinian take. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you haven't already, and as always, everybody, insert end of video tagline here. Hey, just wanted to give a quick thank you to all of my wonderful patrons who help keep me afloat and help keep this channel going. YouTube and Twitch are wonderful platforms, but at the end of the day, stability is not one of their strong suits. If you want to support my channel, then obviously Patreon is one of the best ways of doing that. Link is in the description. But I do want to personally thank everybody who has contributed to the channel. Those people would be Red Joker, Purple Poundini, Jemshin, Britzkrieg, Jupe the Malignant, Michael, Ravalern, Mabbity Babbity, Astral Frontier, Autumn and Angel, Nixie Chan, Agamotto, Victorian Alchemist, I'm not saying the last part of that, and you know that. Arcton Arclacier, Kiratorian, Dren Hadamata, Jordan M, John L, Lord Bleck, Smiling Game Master, and Fireshard. And everyone else who supports my channel and lets me do what I do full time. This is a dream job of mine that I never believed that I would be able to take full time, and with your help, I've been able to do it. So thank you so very much for that. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you all enjoy, and I hope you all are having a wonderful time. I will see you all in the next one, hopefully.